Have you ever reached for your phone and realized there's no one to call? Not really. No best friend to share your morning thoughts with. No one checking in just because they care. No voice that says, "I was just thinking about you." It's a moment that many older adults experience quietly, and it cuts deeper than most people realize. Because the silence that creeps in as we age, it's not just in the house. It's in the heart. It's in the long days that feel even longer without conversation. It's in the birthdays that pass with fewer messages. It's in the evenings where the only voice you hear is the one on the TV. And yet, no one really warns us about this, do they? We're told to expect the gray hairs, the slower steps, the retirement paperwork. But no one says, hey, one day you might feel invisible. One day your social world might just vanish. That's what this video is about. Not to make you feel worse, but to help you see that you're not alone. Because this quiet loss, the fading of friendships, the shrinking of our circles, it's more common than you think. Meet Linda. She's 71. She moved across the country after retirement, chasing peace and new beginnings. She got the house she wanted, the view, the quiet. But one morning, sitting at her kitchen table, staring at her untouched coffee, she realized no one was calling. No one even knew what her days looked like anymore. And it hit her. This wasn't the freedom she had dreamed of. It was something else. It was a kind of loneliness that doesn't announce itself. It just settles in. Slowly, quietly. The truth is, aging changes more than our bodies. It changes our connections. And without even noticing, we go from surrounded to solo, from busy to forgotten. But here's why you're here, and why I'm here with you. Because this doesn't have to be the end of the story. In fact, it might just be the beginning of a whole new chapter. One where you rediscover what it means to connect, to belong, to feel seen, not for what you do, but for who you are. So stay with me. We're going to talk about the real reasons friendships fade after 60. And more importantly, how you can bring connection back into your life, gently, intentionally, and beautifully. Because you're not invisible, and you are far from alone. When we think about aging, we usually think about physical changes, the slower pace, the creaky knees, the new medications on the kitchen counter, and we prepare for that, mentally, emotionally, even financially. But there's one change that most people never see coming. It doesn't show up in medical charts. No one pulls you aside and says, hey, this might happen to you. It's the slow, painful fading of friendships. You don't even notice it at first. Your kids move away, but you're proud of them. A neighbor relocates, you say goodbye, but assume you'll keep in touch. A dear friend passes and you tell yourself they lived a full life. Retirement comes and the calendar opens up. But oddly, your phone gets quiet. That's what happened to Linda. She's 71. After decades of working, raising a family, and giving her all, she finally moved across the country to a beautiful little house by the ocean. She pictured long walks, cozy mornings with coffee, peaceful afternoons reading in the sun. But reality? She found herself sitting at the kitchen table, staring at her phone. No one calling. No one checking in. Just silence. And the slow realization that her vibrant social world had vanished. And here's the part no one tells you. This isn't rare. It's not unusual, but it is rarely talked about. Society has this quiet expectation that older adults should be content. You have your family, your hobbies, maybe a volunteer shift at church. But deep, soul-filling friendship, that's somehow seen as a luxury, something for the young. And that's not just wrong, it's dangerous. Because real connection, true friendship, isn't a nice to have. It's essential to our well-being. Studies show that older adults with strong friendships have lower blood pressure, better memory, less depression, and longer lives. Friendship keeps the mind sharper, the heart lighter, and the spirit stronger. So why don't we talk about it more? Maybe it's because no one wants to admit they feel lonely. Maybe we've all gotten a little too good at pretending we're fine. But here's the truth. It's okay to miss the people who used to sit across from you. It's okay to wish someone still called just to say hi. This isn't weakness. It's human. And in this video, we're going to talk honestly about that loss and how, even now, it's possible to rebuild what feels lost. One step, one hello, one brave moment at a time. So if you've ever felt that ache of disappearing connection, stay with me. Because you're not alone. and you never were. We often think of loneliness as just a feeling, a soft ache in the background of our lives. But what if I told you? It's more than emotional pain. It's biological. And it's dangerous. In fact, long-term loneliness has been shown to be as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Yes, you heard that right. It ranks up there with obesity, high blood pressure, and chronic illness. And the scary part, it doesn't always show up with big signs. It sneaks in, slowly, quietly. Let's go back to Linda for a moment. After moving to her new home, she started waking up later. She began forgetting small things, her keys, her vitamins, what day it was. She stopped cooking meals just for herself. The TV stayed on for noise, the phone stayed silent. When she went to her doctor, the results looked fine. Everything's normal, they said, but Linda didn't feel normal. She felt like she was disappearing. What her doctor couldn't see, what no blood test could reveal, was that she was unraveling emotionally. And that emotional unraveling, it has real physical consequences. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows that loneliness increases inflammation, weakens the immune system, and speeds up cognitive decline. It even raises the risk of heart disease, depression, and dementia. Because our bodies are wired, built for connection. Without it, we start to shut down. Not overnight, but bit by bit. The most heartbreaking part? Many older women blame themselves. They say, "I'm just getting old." They think feeling tired, foggy, or sad is just part of aging. But often, it's not age, it's isolation. What they're really missing isn't youth or energy, it's companionship. Someone to laugh with, someone to check in, someone to say you matter. You don't need 10 friends. You don't need a busy social calendar. You just need one person who gets you, who listens, who makes you feel safe and seen. And that one connection, it can be the difference between fading and flourishing. So if you've been feeling slower, less motivated, or a little lost lately, pause and ask yourself, is this really aging, or is it loneliness wearing a disguise? Because the truth is, loneliness isn't just sad, it's a silent health risk. But once we name it, once we see it, we can start to heal it. And in the next part of this video, we'll talk about exactly how to do that, gently, intentionally, and one small step at a time. You're not broken, you're not too late. You just need one spark to feel alive again. So here's a question we don't ask enough. Why does friendship fade after 60? Not because we stop caring, not because we've lost the ability to connect, but because life changes. And these changes, they're not small. They're what I like to call social earthquakes. They don't always make noise, but they shift everything beneath your feet. Retirement, moving to a new home, the passing of a spouse. Children starting lives far away, close friends relocating or slipping quietly out of touch. These transitions come one by one, sometimes all at once. And suddenly, without realizing it, the people you once saw every week are just memories on your calendar. At first, you stay busy. You tell yourself it's just a phase. But one day, you scroll through your contacts and ask, who would actually pick up if I called right now? Or worse, who would I even call? And then comes the most dangerous thought of all. Maybe it's too late. But let me be clear with you, right here, right now. It's never too late. Not for new connection. Not for real friendship. Not for the kind of companionship that makes you feel alive again. Making friends in your 60s, 70s, or 80s is different, yes. It takes more intention. It takes more courage, and yes, it takes more patience, but different doesn't mean impossible. You see, when we were younger, friendships formed through proximity, school, work, raising families. Now, friendship is a choice. You have to create the space for it. And the beautiful thing is, it doesn't take a grand gesture to start. Sometimes all it takes is saying, yes. Yes to that local book club meeting. Yes to a casual coffee with someone new. Yes to sending a simple message. I was thinking about you. How have you been? These little actions, they hold power. Because connection doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being present. And yes, you might feel awkward at first. You might feel like the new person in the room. But every strong circle of friendship you've ever seen, every walking group, church potluck, or game night, started with someone showing up anyway. And that someone could be you. You don't have to rebuild your social world in a day. Just take one step. Let that step open the door. And from there, let your story unfold. One hello, one smile, one small moment of courage at a time. Because friendship isn't about age, it's about heart. And your heart still has so much left to give and receive. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I'm too old to make new friends? If you have, I want you to pause right here and take a deep breath. Because that thought, it's not your truth. It's a lie society has been whispering to you for far too long. We live in a culture that celebrates youthful friendships, the college roommates, the childhood besties, the colleagues turned lifelong companions. And somewhere along the way, we were led to believe that friendship has an expiration date, that after a certain age the door closes, that meaningful connections are behind us. But let me tell you, it's simply not true. In fact, I believe some of the most powerful friendships are born not in youth, but in reinvention. Because by the time we're in our 60s, 70s, even 80s, we've lived, we've lost, we've learned. And what we bring to the table now is depth, honesty, and a kind of emotional richness you can't fake. Take Linda, for example. After months of feeling alone, she finally took a brave step and joined a memoir writing class at her local library. She almost didn't go. Twice she stood at the door ready to turn back. But something inside her whispered, just try. And in that quiet room with 6 other women, strangers at first, she found something she didn't know she was missing. They shared stories, real ones. Some painful, some beautiful. They laughed, they cried. They saw each other. And that weekly gathering, it changed Linda's life. Not because it solved everything, but because it reminded her that connection was still possible and that she was still worthy of being seen. Here's the truth. You don't need a crowd. You don't need a packed social calendar. You just need one person, one honest conversation, one moment of being heard, one person who sees you and says, I'm here too. And that can happen at any age, because friendship, real friendship, is not about how many years you've lived. It's about how open your heart still is. And if you've gone through loss, if you've rebuilt your life, if you've felt invisible and still showed up anyway, you already have the strength it takes to start again. So the next time that voice tells you, it's too late, speak back. Say, maybe my best friend is still ahead of me. Because some of the deepest, most soul-filling connections come after the storm, when we're no longer trying to impress, but simply looking to connect. So be the one who says hello, join the group, send the message. And most of all, stay open, because friendship at this stage of life, it's not secondhand. It's sacred, and you are not too old. You're just getting started. Let's talk about something that doesn't get said enough. Not everyone will find new friends in later life. And you know what? That's okay. We've spent so much time talking about connection and rebuilding friendships. And yes, that's beautiful and important. But for some people, especially women in their 60s, 70s, or beyond, peace doesn't come from people. It comes from within. There are women, maybe even you, who've walked through decades of noise, responsibility, and giving everything to others. Now, in this chapter of life, you finally have space to breathe, to be, to reconnect not with a crowd, but with yourself. And in that quiet, there's healing. Some women write poetry. Some tend to gardens that bloom in slow, gentle rhythms. Some walk each morning with no destination, just the joy of movement. Others sit quietly with a cup of tea and finally feel what it's like to listen to their own thoughts. This isn't loneliness. It's solitude, and there's a difference. Loneliness is the pain of wanting connection but feeling unseen. Solitude is the peace of choosing your own company and finding it enough. You see, happiness in later life doesn't have to look like full dinner tables or a calendar full of social events. It can look like soft mornings, like lighting a candle just because you want to, like rereading a book that once meant something to you, like hearing your favorite song and dancing alone in the kitchen. But let's be honest, society doesn't always validate this version of joy. We're told that we need a circle, a tribe, a group, and if we don't have that, we must be missing something. But here's the truth. You are not missing anything when you are fully present with yourself. Of course, connection still matters. Even if you live a quieter life, small moments of connection can still be powerful. A kind smile from your neighbor, a handwritten card to an old friend, a shared laugh with a stranger in line at the store. These tiny human exchanges remind us we are still part of the world, even when we walk through it more quietly. So if you're someone who thrives in solitude, honor that. If your joy comes from painting in silence or meditating in the morning sun or praying in the stillness of the night, embrace that. You don't need to explain your peace to anyone. Because in the end, happiness isn't something handed to you by others. It's something you shape with your own hands, your own breath, your own presence. You define it, you live it, and you deserve it, whether you're surrounded by people or simply surrounded by your own calm. So wherever you are right now, I invite you to ask, what brings me peace? What makes me feel whole? Because that's your version of happiness. And that version is enough. When life slows down and the noise of others fades away, many older women find themselves waking up to something unexpected. Silence. No phone ringing. No one asking what's for dinner. No place they absolutely have to be. At first, it feels like freedom. But over time, that freedom can start to feel like drifting. Days blur together, mornings become afternoons, and slowly it becomes harder to answer the question, what did I even do today? But here's a healing truth. You don't need a busy schedule to feel fulfilled. You just need rhythm, a quiet, meaningful structure that you choose for yourself. When you build a gentle routine, you're not filling time. You're creating a container for purpose. Start simple. Open the blinds every morning and let light touch your face, like a small ritual of renewal. Pour yourself a warm drink and drink it slowly without distractions. Play soft music as you prepare your breakfast and let it set the tone for your day. It might seem like nothing, but these moments matter. Assign gentle intentions to different days of the week, not rigid tasks, but soulful anchors. Maybe Mondays become your mindful morning days, where you journal or meditate. Tuesdays could be for creativity, sketching, knitting, or writing poetry. Fridays, a walk in nature or just sitting on your porch with a cup of tea, watching the world pass. It's not about productivity, it's about presence. You're not doing these things for others, you're doing them for you. And over time, they become small acts of self-respect. You might also find joy in adding seasonal rituals, planting flowers in spring, baking something warm in winter, lighting a candle on rainy days. The truth is, even without anyone watching, your life is still sacred. And by building a rhythm that honors your needs, your energy, your spirit, you start to feel more rooted, more alive, more you. So the next time you feel aimless or invisible, ask yourself, what small thing could I do today that would give me a sense of care and meaning, even if no one else sees it? Because you see, the point isn't to impress anyone. It's to love yourself enough to build a life that feels soft, steady, and meaningful, day by quiet day. When you're alone, there's one voice that becomes louder than all the rest. It's not coming from the TV, not from outside the window. It's the voice inside your own mind. And the truth is, for many women, especially in later life, that voice hasn't always been kind. Think about it. How do you speak to yourself when you make a mistake? When you forget something? When you're having a slow day? Do you say, that's okay, I'm human? Or do you silently whisper, what's wrong with me? I should be better than this. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. You see, many of us were taught to be strong for others, to keep going, to put on a brave face. But no one ever taught us how to be gentle with ourselves, especially when we're alone. And yet, self-talk, the words you say to yourself in private, is one of the most powerful forces shaping your emotional well-being. It's not about fake positivity, it's about honest compassion. So here's a thought. What if you began talking to yourself the way you'd talk to a dear friend, someone who's trying, who's been through a lot, who deserves kindness, especially when no one else is around to give it? The next time that critical voice shows up, try this. Pause. Take a deep breath. And ask, would I say this to someone I love? If the answer is no, it doesn't belong in your mind either. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to get everything done. You don't have to be cheerful all the time. You just have to be real with yourself and kind about it. There's something deeply healing about rewriting that inner script. Because over time, how you speak to yourself becomes how you feel about yourself. And that shift, It can bring more peace than any external validation ever could. Linda, who we met earlier, shared something beautiful with me. She said, "For years, I was waiting for someone else to make me feel loved. But it wasn't until I began speaking gently to myself that I finally started to feel safe in my own company." That's the quiet magic of self-compassion. It turns solitude into sanctuary. It makes silence feel less like a void and more like a conversation with someone who finally understands you. So tonight, when you're getting ready for bed, place your hand gently on your heart and whisper, "I'm doing my best." And that is enough. You don't need a crowd to feel seen. You just need one voice that treats you like you matter. Let that voice be your own. Let me leave you with this truth, one that's simple but powerful. Happiness doesn't have an expiration date, and connection, it doesn't come with an age limit. You don't need to be young to laugh again. You don't need to be surrounded by people to feel seen, and you certainly don't need permission to begin again. No matter where you are in your journey, whether you're surrounded by family or walking a quieter path, you still hold value. You still deserve joy. You still matter. You are not too late. You are right on time for the next chapter that's waiting to be written, and the pen is in your hands. The beauty of life, especially later in life, is that it invites us to choose again, to release the expectations, to let go of old roles, and to ask ourselves, maybe for the first time in years, what do I want this part of my life to feel like? Peaceful? Creative? Spiritual? Connected? There is no wrong answer, only the one that speaks most clearly to you. Maybe you'll choose to reconnect with an old friend. Maybe you'll join a local class or community group. Or maybe you'll simply commit to showing yourself more kindness each morning. Whatever you choose, let it be something that brings you back to yourself. Because here's what I've learned after hearing from hundreds of women like you. The most meaningful transformations begin with something very small, a walk outside, a handwritten note, a decision to smile at someone you might have passed by, a whisper to yourself, "This isn't the end of my story." And it's not. Your story is still unfolding. It may look different than what you imagined. It may be quieter, slower, more inward, but that doesn't make it any less worthy. In fact, sometimes the most beautiful chapters are the ones we never expected to write. So if no one has told you this in a while, let me be the one to say it now. You are not invisible. You are invaluable. You are not forgotten. You are becoming. And if today feels uncertain, start small. One breath, one step, one moment of hope. Because the life you want to live, it's not behind you. It's still ahead of you, waiting to be shaped, colored, and filled by the choices you begin to make today. This is your next chapter, not because life has left you behind, but because now, finally, you get to write it your way. And that, my friend, is something truly beautiful. If this video has touched a part of you, leave a comment below. Let me know what makes you feel connected or how you are rewriting your life story. And if you think this message is worth spreading, don't hesitate to share it with another woman who needs to hear this. Subscribe to the channel for more healing videos, because I believe we don't have to walk this journey alone. We can walk it together.